Hi, thanks so much for tuning into another episode of the Best Dental Marketing Show. We are honored and excited to welcome back to the pod Dr. Brayman. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Newman. How are you?
Great. Well, thanks for coming back. We're going to talk today about routines that build revenue, small shifts, big wins for dentists. And we got a bunch of core topics to focus on today. I first want to talk about morning huddles because that daily 10-minute alignment helps with smoother days, better case acceptance. And I know this is a huge topic that you focus on with your clients over the years. Talk to
Absolutely.
me about the morning huddle and how these small shifts in their huddles could be so instrumental in quantum shifts for production and results.
Let me start first by saying I absolutely cannot stand meetings. Why don't I like meetings? It's because generally they are a gargantuan waste of time. People go off track, they never accomplish anything, and most of the time it's just one person babbling about something that they think is important and nobody else cares. Meetings are generally a complete waste of time. So with that said, if I'm going to recommend that people have meetings, or I should say, and if I'm going to have a meeting of my own, you can be damn sure that it's going to be impactful and useful. Otherwise, don't waste your time. So, morning huddles, are they useful? Absolutely. Presuming that you use them correctly. So, what is a useful morning huddle? A useful morning huddle is your opportunity as the leader of your business, as the entrepreneur, to set the stage, to set the mindset of you and your team to have a kick-ass day. There's no two ways about it. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, your team needs to participate. Second of all, you have to have an agenda. And it can't be too long because we don't have very long for a morning huddle. 10 minutes max. So we've got to have a few things in the morning huddle. We've got to have production for the day, what we're scheduled to produce today. We've got to have an update on any interesting things going on with some of our patients, like maybe they got married, maybe they had a birthday or have one coming up. We need to know some things so that we can personalize each of our guests' experience that day. Second thing we have to do is we have to know, is there any place in the schedule where we can do some same-day dentistry? The third thing that we have to do is we have to understand what each person's role is today. The way I recommend people run their practice is we don't have job descriptions. If your license lets you do it, it's your job. Period, paragraph, end of discussion. So yes, doctor, that actually means that occasionally you will have to take out the trash. Because guess what? Your dental license allows you to take out the trash. So it's your job. So and then we end the huddle with someone on the team reading a very short, inspiring quote from someone or passage that they may have encountered at some time over the week. Maybe they share an Instagram video that they came across that really meant something to them, and they can share that with the team. Something inspiring. It really doesn't matter what it is, but the person reading it or the person presenting it, it has to be meaningful to them, and they have to be able to explain that meaning to the rest of the team. So, and it's good to rotate that. If each person does it, a different person does it each day. You just rotate through the team. And doctor, you are included in this. And so that keeps it short, sweet, to the point. We know how the day is going to flow, and we know how the day is going to flow, and we end it with something that has meaning. That's the important thing to end with, because it gives us a why to perform at a world-class level every day. I think it's really important that we do have a morning huddle because it gets everybody on the same page every day.
Yeah. Well, that's huge. Listen, the morning huddle is really important. I think equally as important is end of day reflections. In our routines, everyone's always focused on the morning huddle. What about end of the day reflections? The 2 minutes to review the wins and misses. This boosts leadership clarity. What's your take on that? And any tweaks or additions, or how can that really improve overall performance?
I think that will catapult overall performance of any group of people, um, probably as much or more than a morning huddle will. And I like your word reflections, PM reflections or afternoon reflections or daily reflections. Look back on the day. What did we do really well? Now, the tendency for these PM huddles or afternoon reflections, I think I'll start calling them, I like that, is to talk about what didn't go well today and how do we fix that. And all that does is everybody leaves the office with this feeling of ick, because all we did was talk about what didn't go well today. We talk about the one or two things that didn't go really well today, instead of the 37 things that went spectacularly well.
Yeah.
And so it's imperative that we not go down the rabbit hole of what didn't go well. That stuff, when something doesn't go well, address it immediately. Not in front of a patient or another team member, obviously, but when something doesn't go well, you simply ask one question: what did you learn from that?
Yeah.
And if you learn from something that didn't go well, it's fresh in your mind. What you learned from it, that too is fresh in your mind. And it changes when we focus on what we learned from it. That changes your brain's focus on what happened. And if you don't learn from it, then we fall into Einstein's category of insanity. We just keep doing the same dumb thing over and over again. So back to the PM huddle. Short, sweet, to the point. I like it when, and we did this in my office, and I really think it worked well. Each person shares something that went well today for them. And if more than one team member was involved in whatever it was that went well, then two people can share the same thing. That's great. They'll both have a different take on the same situation. And everybody goes around what went well today. We look at our numbers. We were scheduled to produce X. We produced X plus $10,000. Great. High five, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Wow.
And to keep it focused on what went well. That is so critical, because I can't tell you how many times I have been part of an evening huddle, and this in my own office, same thing. Oh, well, such and such, we didn't have this room set up quite right, or whatever it was. We forgot to collect Susie's payment, or whatever it is. Well, yeah, of course, we need to rectify that. But at the end of the day, we all need to leave the office feeling like we did something impactful, meaningful, and well today.
Yeah.
Because how you leave the office stays with you for the rest of your evening. So if you leave the office on a high note, the rest of your evening is going to be a heck of a lot more enjoyable, and your family's going to be much more likely to want to hang out with you than if you leave the office talking about what didn't go well today.
Yeah. Great stuff. I want to jump in there and just say that, one of the biggest things we're seeing for routines for marketing success is on a consistent basis, on a monthly basis, tracking new patient leads and obviously tracking new patient numbers. But tracking new patient leads is the biggest addition to someone's routine that we have seen that'll impact success, because I think it's a given that tracking new patient numbers is obviously going to be a huge part of the success,
Yeah,
and sources of those new patients. Was it referral, Google, Instagram, postcard, TV, whatever that, source was. And nowadays, by the way, there's around 14 plus touches someone needs to convert. So it'll probably be a plethora of sources, but if you could dig down, so you're not guessing on the marketing dollars, obviously that helps. But leads is such a big number to track, because that's a really nice, healthy barometer on your marketing, the number of leads. And then you could drill down on your, pun intended, on your conversion rates of, your leads. How many people what percentage of people are you converting on your leads once they touch the office through the contact form, online scheduling, the phone call, and work on those systems with someone like you in terms of scripting and selling dentistry and talking about, insurance and all that. But we have found from a routine standpoint, when it comes to marketing, tracking those new patient leads, and then of course, new patient numbers, though those two things are the biggest differentiators. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Brandon.
I If you're not going to track new patient leads, then there's absolutely no reason, no purpose in tracking new patient numbers. It's useless because you have no reference point. And so if you're tracking new patient numbers, that's great. Well, how many leads did you get that led to that? The conversion rate that you mentioned is really huge because that tells us how well we are doing with our phone calls, with our text conversations, email conversations with people. So if you're getting 100 leads in a month, we'll just make the math easy. If you're getting 100 leads in a month and you're only getting 10 new patients in a month, there might be a problem.
Yeah.
So if you're not tracking both, then just tracking one of them is useless. And so, okay, so let's say you're getting 10 new patients a month and you have 100 leads. Well, now we can look and see, we can record some phone calls, and this always freaks team members out. But the whole idea here is not to find something that people are doing wrong. The whole idea is find out what we can do to be more effective in our presentation when someone calls. So I think I could not agree with you more. It's imperative that you track leads.
What about like routine? Like, what's your take on having like a part of routine, having a team? Like, should they be collectively be reading a book together? Should they be aware of this, office goals and team goals, whether should the whole team know about production goals and new patient goals, or is that none of the business of, assistants and hygienists? Or I don't know. How does that, what does that look like to you?
The first thing that popped into my head when you said that is that if you don't have goals of your own, you are forever doomed to help others achieve theirs.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, yeah, if you're not getting the results you want, or you could be getting better results, you don't have a choice but to share your goals and help your team members set their own goals for their professional and heck, for their personal life. I mean,
Wow.
it's kind of that I love things that you could put on a bumper sticker. And if you're, see, how does this one go? If you're something to the effect of without goals, it's like going on a road trip without a map. You have no idea where you're going. You just
Might be fun, but you'll never get there.
It might be fun, but you'll never get there. Yeah, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
I wanted to ask you about this before we wrapped up, because maybe we'll talk about this briefly now and maybe do a whole episode about this next. But, fixing dispersion with routine, right? Routine equals consistency, consistency equals patient trust. If you don't mind, touch on that for a bit.
This is definitely worth an entire episode. So yeah, let's introduce it here, and then let's next time let's do a whole episode on it. So the difference between dispersion and distraction. So they both take you off your mark. They both take you away from where you're headed. So a distraction is, ooh, squirrel, and you just take off and go do something else completely different from what you need to be maniacally focused on to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Dispersion is it's much more insidious. It creeps in. And it's the classic example that I think that comes up, and I've seen this with my clients countless times, and fortunately I've been able to help some of them avoid it. Their practice isn't delivering what they want their practice to deliver. So they'll start delving into real estate, or they'll start day trading. They'll look at some other business to purchase or start. And so it's dispersion creeps in because we're trying to better ourselves. It's not a distraction. It's something that we're doing in an effort to make our situation better in some capacity. And and it's insidious. So, and the reason it's insidious is because it has the facade of potential to improve our lot, for lack of a better way to put it. And a distraction is, the YouTube video or dadgum blasted social media. Those are distractions. And this comes back to your question about habits and routines. And so I think this is where we need to do a whole episode on habits and routines relative to distractions versus dispersion. A distraction takes you away temporarily. A dispersion is a diversion of your energy into something that is not going to bring you the change that you're looking for.
Man, I love that. Let's talk about that next time.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a fascinating one. That's something that I just recently become aware of. So I'm learning a lot more about it. So as the next time we meet, we'll, I think between the two of us diving into that, we'll be able to really help people maniacally focus on one thing that is really going to make a noticeable difference. It's really going to move the needle for their life.
Well, we're not going to tell people now, but I think you're going to have a video soon about the one thing that will make a difference, the one product, the one thing. So maybe we could tie that in when you get back. We'll share it with the audience.
Let's do that.
All right, buddy. Where could people find out about you?
You can find out about me at www.empowereddentist. There's 2 D's in the middle of that, empowereddentist.com. I have some very kind and talented people who take care of my social media for me. So Instagram, Facebook, I don't know, what other social media platforms, YouTube. I'm sure you can tell I'm really not into the whole social media thing.
That's all we're doing. Yeah, we're no TikTok.
It's a huge distraction for me. So
it's dispersion.
It's both distraction and dispersion. Double whammy. So anyway, social media, Empowered Dentist, empowereddentist.com. On all of those, there's a place you can click a link and book a call with me, complimentary. If that's something that, if you would like to take back your life, if you'd like to really live life on your terms, feel free to book a call. I'd love to chat with you, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks, buddy. And thank you everyone for tuning into this episode of the Best Dental Marketing Show. And I think the Empowered Dentist show, we're going to double up this episode. And if you follow some of these recommendations, you'll without question be a wizard of buzz, and you'll be way more successful in your routines. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you.